Good evening, everybody. This is Lieutenant Commander Lonnie McHugh, and I'll be your instructor this evening for topic 4.15, Cache Verification Team. Our enabling objectives for this evening are 4.42, state the procedures for the quarterly cache verification team, and 4.43, state the procedures for appointment to the cache verification team. Our references, the DoD FMR Volume 5. As a reminder, this is online and continuously updated, so please use the online version anytime you can. Our next reference is a TICOM instruction. So whatever your applicable TICOM is, they will be the point of contact for you. The NAVSUB P485 and the NAVSUB 727. So anytime that you need to access a Navy cache report, that NAVSUB 27 is going to help you figure out how to get there. So our discussion points: composition of the cache verification team procedures, frequency of verification, and the written report. But before we dive into that, I just want to recap what the cache verification team is. It is a team of, well, essentially auditors for you, and they will come in, which we'll talk about who they are in a minute, will come in and audit your entire operation and provide a report to the commanding officer. So that way the commanding officer knows how well your operation is running and that you are actually 100% accurately accounting for all of your money in your possession. All right, so our first topic tonight is the composition of the cache verification team. Who is on this team and how do they get there? These members are appointed by the commanding officer, and your cache verification team is typically headed up by your senior supply officer. They'll have the dispersing experience and understand the operation and your schedule. The additional people on that team are going to be somebody that, well, the senior supply officer nominated. And so it says that at least 2 qualified personnel are required. So the senior supply officer and 1 additional person. But I would recommend having several alternates for the commanding officer to appoint. That way, if operational schedule hems them up, the cache verification team can still do their audit. More people equals more options for the senior member of the CVT. The CVT's procedures, what the CVT, the cache verification team, will do, can be found in the Volume 5 and Appendix Alpha. It is a very detailed list of everything that needs to be checked, and that includes everything from cache to how the system operates and what reports have been ran. So typical things that start off the procedures are an inventory of the cash and coins on hand. Next, they're going to look at the checks. They're going to look at the safekeeping deposits, which was our lesson from last week. They're going to verify that you're supposed to have everything that you are accountable for to the Treasury. Then after they do that portion, they're going to go in and they're going to look at Navy cash. So again, the checklist for this is a composition of the Volume 5 and how-tos from the 727. So in there, they will look at your reports that you're supposed to run. Have you been running them? Is the data in the reports acceptable? So do you have people with negative balances on their Navy cash cards that have been, well, uncollected for a long period of time? Then they're going to go through and audit your assets that you have on hand, which means your Navy cash cards, your points of sales, which are little devices that you'll carry around to, well, maybe your retail operation, maybe you'll hand them out to the chief's mess, maybe you'll hand them out to the wardroom. In addition to that, you'll have a laptop that acts as a backup dispersing application. They're going to audit that. They're going to look at things like CADs, which are card accepting devices. That's for your retail operation, but it allows them to make sure that the vending machines are up and running. So if you don't have those assets or they're not in good shape, they're not in usable condition, you're setting up your operation for failure. So they're just another check here to make sure that you are appropriately accounting for and getting them repaired when need be. Our next discussion point is the frequency of the verification. So the cash verification team, that's senior supply officer with their appointed team, will come in quarterly at random. So they need to make sure that it doesn't show up at the last month of each quarter or on a certain day. It needs to be completely at random. It does say frequency is quarterly, but there are a few exceptions. So the commanding officer they may omit a second audit if you had the field examination group come in. And that is your ATG entity that comes in and audits dispersing operations. That is their job. They are the subject matter experts, and there's no reason that the cash verification team should go behind them and do duplicate work. There's one other scenario when the commanding officer may omit a CVT audit, and that's when there's just been a turnover accountability. So if you as a dispersing officer had just turned over from the previous dispersing officer, you could then go through and the CO could say, hey, this turnover accountability just happened, complete audit. I have no concerns. I would not recommend that though, whether you are the dispersing officer or you are the auditing team. The reason is it's a good safety check to make sure that that turnover was done correctly. And it's a good check to make sure that that new dispersing officer understands everything that they're supposed to do and get them started on the right foot. Whenever the cash verification team completes their audit, they're going to write up a report and route it up to the commanding officer. So this will be a report to the commanding officer of the health of their entire dispersing operation and how well you as a dispersing officer are maintaining accountability. This report gets filed with your CO's monthly and will be on file in your office as well. So it'll be in your S1 operation as well as your dispersing office. So quick knowledge check. At what intervals are the CVTs completed? And that is quarterly at random. Who appoints members to the cash verification team? That's the commanding officer. But besides your senior supply officer, those other members will be nominated by the senior supply officer. Then what Navy cash assets will be verified by the cash verification team? It's Navy cash cards, your point of sales, your CADs, your dispersing application, and your backup laptop, making sure as well that your servers are all still there and intact. All right, in summary, we talked about who's on the cash verification team, the procedures and where you can find them for both the standard and the Navy cash line items, frequency of verification, so that's going to be quarterly at random, and the written report to the commanding officer that summarizes how well your operation is running.